Welcome into the DFS Den. It's Dave Eddy here, aka Corporal Eddy on Twitter, bringing you another showdown video here for the wild card round, breaking down every individual slate here for the 2023 playoffs. And this brings us the Giants against the Vikings. Now, showdown slates are different than your typical main slate. On a showdown slate here on DraftKings, you've got a captain spot. Captain spot is unique because the salary is 1.5 times what it is in the flex, and they score 1.5 times what they would score in the flex. And then you've got the one captain spot along with 5 flex spots to fill out your lineup. Got to have at least one player from each team, and that's how we go. So when I'm doing showdown lineups, more so than, even on the showdown slate, it is very much game theory for me. So I'm really thinking, how's the game going to go? Is it going to be high scoring, low scoring? What team's going to win? And I formulate my lineups based around that. So I pretty much only do MME. You need to know that showdowns are extremely volatile. They're very much like a defense, in a regular DFS lineup. They're quite volatile. You get a lot of dupe lineups, but it is a lot of fun because if you do kind of nail the script of the game, you can win a lot of money. So let's go ahead and hop into this bad boy. And we'll start off with captains. And like I said earlier, in this particular matchup, I'm expecting it to be a close game. So I don't think either team's going to run away with it. I don't think it's going to be super low scoring. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. I think you're going to get yourself a 20, 21-17 type game, 24-20, something along those lines. So I'm going to have pretty wide mix of players here. I'm going to have players pretty evenly on both sides. From the captain spot, guys I'm looking at here are Justin Jefferson, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, TJ Hawkinson, Isaiah Hodgkins, and KJ Osborne. That's where I'm looking at here in the captain spot. Now, when I play a pass catcher like a Jefferson, I'm going to always pair him with his quarterback. It's very unlikely that Jefferson is an optimal captain unless Kirk Cousins is having a pretty decent game himself. When it comes to a quarterback, it depends. If it's a typical pocket passer like a Kirk Cousins, I'm always going to stack a quarterback captain like that with 2 pass catchers. He's not going to be the optimal captain unless he's carrying along, multiple guys. When it comes to a guy who can get the job done on the ground, or if it's a super low scoring game, I'm not opposed to a quarterback and just one pass catcher. I would never not force a pass catcher. I'd always have at least one. In Daniel Jones's case, because he is fairly mobile, I'm going to only force one pass catcher with him. I definitely can make an argument for forcing 2 because this Vikings defense against the pass is terrible. And he did have a pretty good game against them recently. When I look back to week 16, he had 334 yards and a touchdown and 34 yards on the ground for 25 points. Boy, would we would take that here for sure. So you can stack him with 2. I'm gonna make sure I stack him with 1, but that's kind of how I like to go. Quarterbacks, traditional pocket passers, force 2 pass catchers with them. A more mobile guy or a very low scoring game, only force 1. Pass catchers, go ahead and throw their quarterback in along with them. Now let's get to quarterback specifically. I'm going to have both of these guys in my player pool. I don't know who I'm going to lean on here. Cousins isn't going to be in my captain pool. I'm not a big fan of how he kind of shuts it down on, big time games. So he's not going to be in my captain spot. I'm going to have a lot of them in the flex because I don't think this is going to be a game where the running backs go crazy. I think that even though it's going to be a closer game, and I don't think they're going to score like 60 points, I do think a lot of the damage is going to be done here in the air outside of maybe, Daniel Jones with his legs. So, I'm not looking to do a lot of running backs in this particular slate, even though we got 2 really good ones, but that also means they're really pricey. So probably going to have a lot of Kirk Cousins in the flex, and then Daniel Jones, going to have a mixture of him between being in the captain and being in the flex, but both quarterbacks very much in play here for me. And then we get to those running backs, which I had kind of talked about a little bit earlier. I do love them both. I'm not super big on Dalvin Cook in this spot, though. When we look back to week 16, 14 carries, which is fine, 64 yards, which is okay. 3 catches for 13 yards, just over 10 points. Now, that's not going to cut it at his, 10K salary. I don't know that he's going to score much more than that. I wouldn't put it past him to have a 30-point game, but I'm betting much more along the lines of somewhere between 10 and 15. So that's going to pretty much put him just out of my lineups. I'm much more on Dalvin, or I'm much more on like Jefferson. Saquon Barkley, I love him. This offense absolutely does run through him. Had a pretty big game last time against Minnesota. 84 on the ground, 49 in the air on 8 catches. I just don't know in a playoff game. I don't know what we're going to get from this team. So, yes, I do like Saquon Barkley. He is definitely in my player pool. I'm not going to force him into lineups. And with his cost, I don't know how much I'm going to get at him. I'm thinking I may end up with only 15, 20% of him because I think that this passing attack for the Giants is where they make their money against that Vikings defense. That's where they're weak. So, yes, Saquon can definitely do it through the air as well, but I'm going to be focused on their wide range of receivers. Speaking of those receivers, I've got a lot of guys here that are going to be in my player pool for receivers just because, you never know what you're going to get from the Giants here. I got Hodgkins, I got Richie James, I got Slayton. Usually I go 3 deep, and that's about where I stop. I think this is a case where these two teams, that's what I'm at. I don't see anyone beyond those 3 for the Giants that I like. I'm interested in some tight ends, though. For Minnesota, obviously Justin Jefferson's in play. KJ Osborne's in play. Adam Thielen is in play. And that's where I'm going to leave that. Between captain and flex, I think I'm going to be 100% Justin Jefferson. He's the guy in this matchup that absolutely could just go bonkers. He can get 30-plus points. I'm going to be very interested in him. When it comes to the Giants wide receivers, it's going to be a mixture probably of James and Hodgkins being my higher owned players. James is coming in at 5,200. Hodgkins is coming in at 6,200. And then if we go up for Slayton, when we go to Slayton, 5,400 there. So they're all reasonably priced. I don't know who I trust more. I don't think there's a way to really predict that. A while back, maybe 2 months ago, I would have said Slayton, but he hasn't done a whole lot lately. So I don't know. It's tough. I'm going to just mix them together and see what happens and go from there. Let's go on to tight ends here. For tight ends, obviously, Hawkinson is in play. His volume has been ridiculous. I could easily see another 10-target game here. We do have Irv Smith back, which does make things a little bit interesting, but I don't think that with the volume Hawkinson has been getting, I don't think Irv Smith in his second week back is gonna see a ton of snaps. And when he does, they are probably going to be in situations for him to catch a pass. But last week he had 3 catches for 14 yards, 4.5 points. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but he was only $200. He's only $1,800 now. If he catches you a touchdown, you're in really good shape. But I don't know if you need to go there. On the other side of the ball, Bellinger, he's in play. He's only 3,200. I don't mind it. You don't need a lot out of him. He can get you 6 points, and you're in pretty good shape. And then Lawrence Cager is only 600, and he has put up, he put up 15 points just last week, but that's probably an outlier on 10 targets there whenever they were, benching everybody. But prior to that, he had 3, 4, and 9 points. So even if he gets you that 3 at $600, that's a really nice savings. And that's a good way that you can afford a guy like Jefferson, a guy like Barkley, play both quarterbacks in this matchup. So that's where I like the tight ends is a lot for the pass, for the savings there. And then kickers, kickers are always in play for me. They're a way to save some cash while still getting guys that can score you double-digit points. In this matchup here, Greg Joseph is interesting. I could see him with, a double-digit effort here. It's definitely in the cards. And then Graham Gano, Again, you could see double-digit points here. He's a little more hit or miss, but that kind of revolves around what's the offense doing. Again, I think this is going to be kind of a normal game, not low scoring, not high scoring. So we're going to get some field goals. We're going to get some touchdowns. Kickers are definitely in play. I'm gonna leave it to a max of 1, unless we're talking about a game that I think is going to be, 12-10 or something like that. Nice and low scoring, or really just, terrible weather. Maybe where I don't see a lot of touchdowns being scored. Those are the cases where I would consider 2 kickers. I think this is just a normal type game, so I'm going to max it out at 1. I'm going to go from there. Other thing with kickers, whenever I play a quarterback at captain, I don't like to play a kicker from the same team. They just don't correlate well. If I'm playing, Kirk Cousins, for example, in the captain spot, it's because I think they're going to score a lot of touchdowns. So Greg Joseph shouldn't be kicking any field goals. Yeah, I'll be kicking extra points, but that's only 1 point. Your kickers are going to score points because of touchdowns. So I don't play a kicker on the same team if I've got a quarterback captain in that particular lineup. And then let's round it out here with defenses. Again, don't have a strong lean on this game other than the fact that I think it's going to be close. So I do think both defenses are in play. Defense scoring really, to me, comes from, sacks more than anything. If you get a defensive touchdown, you're in great shape. Interceptions obviously help. Fumbles, are a little less common, but they help. It's not really so much about, holding a team down in points. It's more about creating turnovers and, trying to catch the team that gets that touchdown. So both defenses are absolutely in play. Similar to the kicker, limiting it to just 1. Again, it'd have to be a pretty extreme example where, it's going to be a super low scoring game, in my opinion, or if it's going to be an absolute blowout where I could see, a team having to come from behind, which could lead to a lot of sacks, could lead to a lot of interceptions, definitely increases the chances for a touchdown. That's where I would consider multiple defenses. And, also I don't really play defenses in the captain spot unless it's a fairly extreme example, being that I consider this to be a fairly even matchup. I don't think that the kicker or the defense stands out here enough to consider them in the captain spot. So not going to be doing that. And I'm going to be limiting them here to just 1. If you haven't done so yet, pop over here, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so that you get an alert every time that a new video comes out. And then if you haven't done so, go ahead and check out the Showdown video up over here. I did it before the season. It'll give you some good insight, some more insight. This is more game specific. Give you some more insight on how to build these Showdown lineups. I appreciate you tuning in. I wish you the best of luck on this slate and enjoy the playoffs.